Okay, this will be part 2 of reading Dark Psychology 202, The Advanced Secrets of Psychological Warfare, Dark NLP, Dark Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, Super Manipulation, Kamikaze Mind Control, Stealth Persuasion, and Human Psychology 202 by Michael Page. And I don't necessarily recommend anybody doing this to other people, but you can get an idea of the mentality of those under the absolute control of the archons, the entities or whatever they are that surround us in this giant loot factory, for lack of better terms. Although I must tell you, once again, I'm extremely disappointed with Bob Monroe's book, this one, A Far Journey. It is nothing but gibberish nonsense, except it does reveal something. When you overlay that with books like from Taken, from Dr. Carla Turner, is that her name? And others, when it comes to demon abduction, alien intrusion, alien abduction, did I meant to say demon possession? Did I say that or not? Anyways, these whole sort of things, even if you want to overly interaction with quote unquote the good guys, aliens, it's always the same thing: convoluted nonsense, feeding the ego. You have some very important mission, all right, and you're going to change the world. You're the one that's going to do it, and the end of the world's going to happen, right? And it's, obviously the shamans of old and the priestcraft of our day have figured out the use of such things as Masonic death cults, and that idea of the end of the world, human sacrifice, and convoluted messages from these archons, these beings, these lights. He does talk about it, but when you read it, you're just like, it's so whacked out that you just realize that's the message. It's so whacked out, and he's communicating. He has high probability he actually was communicating with something, just like the rest of them. But the messages are so worthless and utterly childish and moronic that it's to take any of it seriously, it's a bit dangerous. In fact, it takes some possession, being possessed by these things. So anyways, I was going to post that, and I know I'm not the greatest of readers, and I got a lot of issues with pronunciation and flow and all that. As I said, I do in this for multiple reasons. One of those reasons is to fight the what happened to me in 2009. The archonic forces, they didn't like me. They didn't like me because I was doing my own music and doing my own art, original art. I was doing my own thing, and they took me out pretty fast. How did they do that? With the swine jibbity jab. And I've been struggling with what they call multiple sclerosis ever since. And I'm at the latter stages of it. And one of the things I'm trying to do is not only exercise my mind, but my voice, vocal cords, and since so I need to read. The best thing for me is to read out loud, so I don't have anybody else to talk to. Which is interesting that the archons brought in this one dude who's been in all my life, who's a raging madman and an alcoholic, right? But I'll be friends to anybody, right? I have empathy and compassion, and I put up with his madness and the stuff he just barfed out today. And I just it's so classic, it's so predictable. And as if, oh my gosh, if you're going to, honestly, there's a great virtue and honor to end up in this life alone. When I see men and women with their endless procession of cars to their funerals, hundreds of people, I think that was, I don't know what you think, but I know what happened there. That man or woman sold their soul to this system, to the Matrix, and people are just like, oh wow, it's so wonderful. See, because unless you get to this point and start talking this way, the way I'm talking, you're part of it. I mean, you have to go after every gosh dang thing. You really do. And look at yourself as well. And, this whole thing about sin and all that crap, and it's all, you see it over and over again. It's your fault. It's your fault. You can even see the message that Far Journeys. It's his fault. It's his fault. It's, and then the guides are there, what do they call it? He calls them the intels or whatever the hell it is. It doesn't really matter. These entities, and it's always his fault. You're just not ready for it. And, you're not advanced enough. And I'm just like, you guys somehow trapped us. Got us sucked up into these wombs. We went through the light, got sucked up in the womb, and got us in this giant avatar, or this horrendous avatar, the worst design possible when you think about it. As far as survival in this place, we're not, it's so clear that we're like a genetic mishap in so many ways. Nearly 5,000 genetic flaws. How many people, the spinal cord, think about everything. The brain itself is some kind of a reduction valve or some kind of I don't know what you call it, but it's like a giant, think of a bladder that only allows a little bit of release air or fluid or whatever it may. So in other words, your brain, you're only using, lucky you're using 5% of it, they say. Well, what happened to the other 95%? What possessed them to create a creature like this, in which we only use 5% of our fucking brains? And then you look how deceptive we are to each other, and that our best survival skill is fucking deception and lying. It's amazing. You look at that story about Esau and Jacob. That's what really this is about. Everyone keeps on talking about the men of old, right? The men of renown, the giants in Genesis 6. I hate to disappoint you. They were just talking about men. Now you go to Jacob and Esau. Esau is a perfect description of what we call a Sasquatch, a Bigfoot. And we are Jacob, the hill grabbers, the newcomers. And what was Jacob about? Famous for? His ability to deceive. He deceived his father. He deceived his brother Esau. Esau, the hairy man, covered in hair from head to toes, hairy like a goat. There ain't no man around here that's that way, unless you have to wear a fucking costume. And the only one that wore a costume that day was Jacob, when he deceived his father and stole the birthright of Esau. These aren't little characters. These are stories about something that happened in the past and how we replaced this thing that we call these hairy hominids, Bigfoot, Sasquatch. And we went out of our way systematically to take them all out. There's still some around, allegedly. I know I seen one, 2006, 17. It's 15 feet in front of me. Damnedest fucking place, in the middle of my town, in a cemetery, while I was standing next to a Crow Indian medicine man. And guess what? I could tell you it all day long, and it's up to you to believe me or not. And that's how this Fortean shit show works. And they make sure that everybody's experience is some similarities there, but there's always something that contradicts everyone else's. So we'll never agree on what the hell is going on. So back to this dark psychology thing. If you want to hear the rest of it, or get the book, and I'm not going to go back and I guess I could. We'll see. So we're chapter 3, and we're talking about the secrets of the dark NLP. And, it describes what NLP is, what you need to know about it, play on people's hopes and fears. And we are now of course, 66. And I discussed her here. We'll make it this here. So at the end here it says, play with someone's hopes and fears by offering them what they really want, and then confronting them with what they fear. This emotional roller coaster is confusing and also makes people insecure. It's funny how it happens. It's so funny. And you know what? A lot of these people, see, here's the thing. You can be that person to do this deliberately, but I'm going to argue the vast majority of people in your life are doing this subconsciously against their own free will, if there is anything at this point called free will. And that free will has been taken from them, and they operate this way instinctively. And so it's good to read this book so that you understand what you're dealing with and how people are toying with you, whether consciously or not. And I'm watching this, acquaintance in my life, someone I would consider a friend, is not a good friend in any way, shape, or form. He's not reliable one bit. He's got serious issues. And just watching him and just watching, and he's thinking that if he calls me names, insults me, or tries to manipulate me, just like we're reading about this, he's basically playing it out while I'm reading this, right? Because he wants to play music and stuff supposedly, and all that's great. But he's never, responsible. He never shows up to anything. And you can count on one thing, you can't count on a guy. But now he wants me to be there for him, right? And so he can play music. And I'm like, fuck this. I told him to sober up, get some counseling. But regardless, you can see exactly what he's doing. I don't think he might even read this book or read something like it and think he's being clever about it. But, when you get to my age, most of us, I'm 56, I'll be 56 soon. Most of us my age don't even have friends. If we have associates, if you're lucky, you might have a roster of associates and friends. You'd be lucky in my age to have a few really good friends. But to know a really good friend is, you'll find out real fast, especially when you challenge their belief systems simply by asking questions. Not about challenging them personally, this their belief system. And you want to see how fast people fall off? That's how it is. And then they also know, because this is how human nature is and how we're designed, if you see someone like me that's walking with a cane or a walker or in a wheelchair, you don't want anything to do with me. Because subconsciously, you don't want to be reminded of the human condition that you're in. And we're brainwashed to think that the person is less than you because of that. Even though you have no idea about their past, you have no idea what they've done in their life, and you have no idea what they're doing now. And I'm not asking for any empathy or sympathy, although I have that for others in my situation or in other situations like my friend. It's clear that he is not in control of himself. You can't be in control of yourself when you're drinking the spirits. No one's in control of themselves when they're drinking the spirits. You can believe you are. You can say, oh, there's no effect. I have no problem. But no, if you are yearning for the weekend to get drunk, especially at my age, listen, we all are suckers, that's for sure. But we all suffer from addictions. I like smoking cigarettes. I like tobacco. I'll probably never give it up. I smoked for freaking 35 years. Well, actually, if you consider the very first time I ever did it, now we're talking 45 years. I ain't quitting. So, and I don't want to quit, regardless of what anybody else thinks of me. In fact, I think it's a wonderful way to get rid of people. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be around a bunch of people. I'd rather be all by myself than be with a handful of friends in which I have to talk bullshit and nonsense and just, play some stupid game with each other. Not into it. It's not even me. I'm incapable of doing it. So if I find a person that can talk like this, or talk deeper, or share insights, you know what I mean? That's great. But if it's not going to be that way, which it has not been that way, I'm better off being alone. You know what I mean? I could put the mask on. Sure. I could put the mask on like the rest of you. So what? So that I not be alone? Under the illusion that I'm alone? Just because an entity in a meat suit next to me is next to me doesn't mean I'm not alone. Hey, listen, it's no different than walking in a crowd of people. It's no different than showing them at work or at your church or whatever the hell it is whatever cult you belong to. You know what I mean? Yeah, you get the highs and the thanks and some recognition and all that. But the truth of the matter is, you buck the system, you challenge the cult, you challenge the worldview, you challenge the whatever they're saying, you challenge the inconsistencies and contradictions. Guess what's going to happen? And by the way, you don't even have to be malicious and mean about it. All you do is ask questions. For the most part, in this world, just asking questions. And by the way, if you end up finding someone who will encourage you to ask questions, even about that person, you should really hold on to that person. If you can be around people that really are interested in developing their critical thinking and be honest and be as aware as possible of what's going on, you want to be around those people, even though how uncomfortable it might be. They might even be an asshole at times. You'll learn to let go if there's more integrity than there is the asshole part of it. And usually when people are being, jerks, it's because they're having a bad, the chemical imbalance going on, right? They're hungry, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. You haven't dealt with those issues. And they're thinking things that are just, their expectations are delusional, right? And then there's other people that they get a kick off of you making other people think that they're the meanest, baddest, most brilliant, nasty person that ever was. And of course, it doesn't really matter to me because you're coming back here anyways. You ain't fooling me. You ain't fooling anybody else. You're fooling yourself, man. If you're not working about not coming back here, I don't know what to say to you except you're dumb as fuck. Because that's the only purpose in this life. The only meaning is not coming back here. And unfortunately, Jesus ain't going to do it for it. Yahweh's not going to do it for her. Allah's not going to do it for her. All these, if they're anything that's blossoming, anything that's a major element of the control system, including the smallest of cults, because it's all a part of that, the matrix, you're fucked up. You're fucking up. If you can't walk in this world alone, and stand on your own, resist the darts, the emotional abuse, the verbal abuse, if you can't handle all the love bombing, and then, by the way, there's other things coming your way too. When you see freaking apparitions, you might see Bigfoot, and whatever it's going to be, you know what I mean? There's a million things. There's all sorts of absurdities out there. It's really beyond you can imagine once you open up your mind to all this. What that means, your consciousness, once you start looking at what you've been systematically blinded from, you're like, you know what, there ain't no reason to come back here. There ain't no lessons to be learned here. And there is none. And they say, it's about love and taking, and loving people. Well, certainly you should be responsible, and certainly you should have empathy and compassion. Because if you don't, you know what I mean? But here's the other thing. When it comes to this stuff like about, karma's a lie. You just look all around you. Who are the leaders in this world? Who are the leaders? They got the biggest mouth, they're the nastiest people, and they're the biggest fucking liars. The bigger the con artist you are, the bigger the used car salesman you are, the more you're willing to promote the fucking agenda, the higher you're going up. So you promise a little more comfort in this life, but you're still coming back. And you're still going to suffer. Because this is what this place is about. Because it's all about you living in fear and suffering and in pain. And these entities, these archonic forces, these beings, you call them jinn, demons, angels, whatever the fuck you want to call them, because they all come in different shapes and sizes, are not only us on the other side, our descendants, our ancestors, but a whole bunch of other things. And they feed off us here. This is not what you guys think it is. I'm not saying to give up. I'm not saying not to care. But you must pay attention to what's going on. If you don't even have the slightest true understanding of your present, contemporary history and the just past 100 years, or even maybe try a little further back, you're not going to understand anything. And I know history is just very deceptive, and he just the victor is the one who rewrites history, right, and controls it. Well, all you have to do is read between the lines. Look at the institutions that are in charge right now. The monarchies, the political systems, the religious systems. What have they done in the past 500 years throughout the world? They wiped out tens of thousands of cultures, exterminated tens of thousands of cultures. They have enslaved and ruined billions of people's lives. Not only today, but you got to remember, you got to multiply the billions before us. They'll try to convince you and make you think like there was only a billion years of people 100 years ago, right? Oh no, we only had a billion, right? Now you must understand something. That's not exactly how it works. You go back 40 generations. Now we're talking how many hundreds of billions of people? How many tens of millions of young people, children, have suffered terribly from abuse to neglect to starvation to being forced into human sacrifice and everything else? And it's still going on, and it's worldwide. They just packaged it differently. And you will hear me and think I'm crazy until you start studying history. And you start paying attention to what's really going on. But as long as you're listening to television, as long as you're listening to 99% of what's out there on the internet, as long as you're not doing your own homework, you're going to be set up for a terrible, terrible, terrible rude awakening that most of you will not be able to handle. And you'll run to your local church with that frickin' steeple on there and that book of black magic called the Bible. And you'll listen to that con artist that use car salesman as he bullshits you and asks you to give him $20 so he can keep bullshitting you and he can go golfing that week and go on his vacations and live in that comfortable house. Now I know not everyone's like that. There's some guys who are so blinded by and so impassioned and so zealot about their belief in Jesus or Yahweh or whatever that they literally do sacrifice everything. But the problem is, if you do not study that book seriously, and you do not challenge what's going on around you and what's been said to you, and if you don't do that, you just blindly believe everything and anything that supports you and your biases. You know what? You're sucked up in the system while you have that Chester Cat smile on your face. Yeah. You can't trust a smile. You're not supposed to trust a smile. But you were trained otherwise. Oh, how important it is to smile. The photographs were always had smiles. You remember the old photographs? They ain't fucking people smiling. It was very rare to ever have a human being smile on those photographs. I wonder why that was, folks. Now, since my lifetime, you have family portraits and everything else. Everyone else had that shit grin, eating whatever the fuck it is. That, that crappy ass smile. And it's supposed to mean something of great depth. And I mean, oh, you can trust the person's. No, you can't trust a person's smile. You can't even trust their look. Yeah. I know one thing. If you see somebody that spends an awful lot of money and makeup and everything else on them, and they can't recognize that they're externally a fraud, what do you think's inside the internally going on? It's funny. I'll talk about it another day. It's funny at the course of life. And I want you to know I'm not better than you. I'm not even close to being better than you. But it's never about me being better than you, or being popular, or having a following. I just share my journey. Why do I share my journey? Because I have nowhere else to do it. There's no people around me that want to share my journey. I don't expect anybody who listens to this to want to share my journey. I appreciate it if you do, but I can't expect any more than you listening to me. It's a one side of the conversation, isn't it? It's a monologue. It's me reading out of a book. That's not a real relationship between you and I. I hope you get something out of it, and it applies to you and people around you, and it strengthens your real personal relationships. And maybe someday we could even have a relationship. But that's not how this system is working. And the irony of irony is, the difference is, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, before stuff like the YouTube and these platforms, it was just conversations that a person had in his journals and between his ears. It was still the same thing. Nothing has changed. People like you and I, we're still isolated, alone, a speck in the sea. It's interesting how we reach out and we find each other. And the irony is, we're not next door to each other. Odds we're not even the same town or state or country. That's how few of us are there at this point, if they even have this awareness. You see, it's one thing to realize how corrupt the system is. It's the next thing to keep going and really find out where you're at. Because this prison is awful. This emotional, spiritual, and physical prison is awful. It's absolutely awful. And what this system wants more than anything is you to buy into any false hope. Instead of being the lone wolf that you are, and the warrior that you are, and you truly are a warrior. And by the way, you don't have to fuck over anybody. You don't have to steal from people. You don't have to do anything nasty. And people have this notion that once you're a lone wolf, and that you're somehow you're going to be a threat to everyone else. No, yes, the problem. You're not. The threat really comes to the hierarchy and the archons, because if people realize their own autonomy and their own personal strength, right? I'm talking between your ears. I mean, we're still stuck in this fucking prison, so you might as well take advantage of everything you fucking can. You know what I mean? Take as much as you can from whatever institutions are out there. Because they're bleeding you dry, so you might as well do something about it. Take back something. But you don't have to be a crook about it. You can play them within their games. When I say that, though, I don't mean you just jive in and be part of it. Just take advantage of it. You think about what I'm saying. It sounds like a hypocrisy, doesn't it? But you still have to survive in this matrix. You have to make it to the end, right? The last man standing, which is a psychological thing, not a literal thing. I'm not competing with you, and you should not be competing with me. You need to be competing with the things around us, and your own, yourself, your true essence. I know it sounds wishy-washy. It sure feels that way at times, doesn't it? But what other options do you got? Either you lose yourself in this matrix, or you find a way to escape from this matrix. There's endless, the Buddhists and the Confucius and all the different So many of these different supposed enlightened teachers, if you read between the lines, it's all about the same thing. How to get the fuck out of here. Right? We all know that. How do I escape this fucking hell? I think you have to just fight every fucking day. But the fight's not with your neighbor. It's not with your children. It's not with your spouse. It's not with everybody else. It's with the whole system we've been thrown into. It's the archonic forces. And if you can't resist the shit here, the love bombing here, and the fear and the horror here, what do you think is going to be on the other side? Because if you really think there's going to be nothing but freaking, and I know there's people because they come back and they say, "Oh yeah, it was so beautiful." Listen, it will change real fast. If the love bombing doesn't work on you, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to see shit like Sasquatch, right? Like aliens and all this other crap and all the images. And if, you know what I mean? And then they're going to try to drive you and do everything they possibly can to get back into one of their classes, one of their schools. They go down into the tunnel so you can be sucked up in the vagina and the woman's womb and popped out again in another avatar so they can feed upon you in the misery that you're going to go through for another lifetime. There is no lessons to learn except one. You got to escape. You've heard, everyone has probably heard of the movie Escape from New York. Well, guess what? We need to escape from this fucking place. And we all instinctively know that, don't we? And and then here's the problem. Spending all this time hanging out with, the Alex Joneses of the world, did they really prepare you to escape this place? Or did they keep telling you more and more about the problems? The newest narrative, all right? And there's no empowerment. At some point, there's no empowerment. This book will give you some empowerment if you can read between the lines. I don't strongly recommend you actually behave this way, but you will understand what people are doing. Hey, listen, if it's necessary to get through this, and you have to play some certain mental games with others, then you're going to have to do it, right? But you don't have to be an absolute monster about it. Anyways, it says here, play with someone's hope and fears. And just, you can overlay this and talk about this, the archons. These are these spirits that are all around us that pretend to be angels or demons or yin, jinn, or whatever. This is what they're doing to us. This is exactly their mentality. Right? I mean, these things, we could talk all day long, right? Anyways. I can talk all day long about how I perceive things. Anyways, play with someone's hopes and fears by offering them what they really want and then confronting them with what they fear. This emotional roller coaster is confusing and makes people insecure. They don't know which way is up when they are forced to experience so many different emotions. Fear and hope are two very powerful emotions. So using them simultaneously will have an impact on people emotionally. God, it just makes me think of somebody right now on the internet. Insult someone subtly. An obvious insult will make someone hate you, but subtle insults allow you to shatter someone's self-esteem. And while appearing innocent, find out what someone hates about himself. Then mention that in every now and then in a subtle way. And don't even make a direct or obvious insult. Disguise your insults as compliments even. For instance, maybe your coworker thinks that she is fat and she is very insecure about her weight. You have observed her glancing at herself in the mirror disparagingly, looking guilty after consuming an extra slice of birthday cake. So you can say subtle things like things to dig at her weight problem, such as, "You have such cute cheeks. You wear the same size as Marilyn Monroe." These insults are disguised as compliments, but they tell her that her weight is noticed by others. This just reaffirms what she hates about herself. You can also occasionally bring up what someone fears. If someone in your office is afraid of the disapproval of others, pretend that you are just spreading office gossip and let him know what everyone else says about him. Or pretend to be a concerned friend and warn him about what people really say about him behind his back. Of course, you can, and this is a very important thing. You hear people saying, "This is what so-and-so said about you." It's a big red flag, right? If you don't hear what that so-and-so said about you personally, don't take any of it. Don't accept any of it. Don't. Why? Because you don't know which one of those people is really fucking with you. At the end of the day, what does it fucking matter what anybody else thinks about you? If you can stand alone and be the lone wolf, you're winning the game. Who cares what they think? Or pretend to be a concerned friend and warn him about what people really say about him behind his back. Of course, you can make up the rumors if you want. By doing this, you are letting him know that people disapprove of him. That reaffirms one of his deepest fears and will drive him crazy. Influence if someone agrees or disagrees. Listen to how someone speaks. Does he say "I feel" a lot? Does he use primarily visual terms like "I see"? Or is he more of an auditory person saying, "I hear you loud and clear"? How someone speaks can reveal a lot about his primary sensory mode. It would be good to have a friend that could help you and sort this out and help you see yourself clearly, if you can find that person. If you want to influence whether or not someone agrees with you, use his primary sensory mode to your advantage. Use language that fits his preferred sensory perception or model system. If you want him to understand and agree pleasantly, he will take better to communications that follows his sensory mode. But if you want him to disagree, use the opposite sensory models system in your speech. He won't understand or agree as well. You can also change how someone feels based on sensory perception. If someone is a strong visual person, paint an appealing picture of something or someone that to get him to like the thing or person. Otherwise, paint a very ugly picture. Paint in his language to influence him more strongly. He will communicate better if you use his terms. Say you want a friend to go to a restaurant of your choice, but he is feeling a different restaurant. You happen to know that he is very olfactory. He's a very olfactory guy, which a very sensitive nose. Sorry, I need to have a cigarette. So, describe how great the food smells at the restaurant and that you want to go. Soon you will make him salivate and appeal to him more. You can also complain, haven't you noticed that the bathroom always stinks a lot at that place that you want to go to? The olfactory sensation of an unpleasant bathroom odor will fill his imagination and ruin his appetite for that restaurant, even if he has never noticed a bad bathroom smell there in the past. It's very interesting. Also listen to common phrases that people use. Words that they often repeat will have special significance to them. Think of Barney, from How I Met Your Mother, always saying legendary in funny or creative ways. The word legendary holds significance to him. You want to use words that have significance for people. This makes them feel a bond with you. And then we talk about creating a fake bond. That I've had enough of myself. Fake bonds. Create fake bonds. It's so easy to create a bond that feels deep to the other person, even if the bond is totally fake and possesses no real depth at all. Dark NLP allows you to make people feel close to you, even if you aren't really close. You can use this bond to gain trust. Then you can use and manipulate people as you see fit. You see this all the time on YouTube, all these YouTube channels. Use the same sensory model system. Earlier we talked about how people prefer certain sensory modes and that manifest in how they speak. Now you can use this to forge bonds and false closeness with people. So if someone uses a lot of auditory terms and describes things in auditory terms, he will like you better if you also use a lot of auditory terms. You two will have better communications and a sense of sharing something in common, even if he doesn't realize why he feels that way about you. You see this all the time in religious cults. Match breathing. Breathe at the same rate as the person that you are speaking to. Even though he won't notice, he will quickly feel closer to you. This may be because people like to have things in common. He may sense that something is similar between you two, and as a result, he will trust you and like you more. Mirroring. Much like the section above, mirroring involves copying the other person to create a sense of similarity. Mirroring creates a fake bond very quickly. People love spotting others with whom they have things in common. Therefore, if you imitate someone's gestures, postures, and facial expressions, you will create a sort of bond that will feel very strong to the other person. During conversation, subtly mimic someone's gestures. If he leans towards you, wait a few seconds and then lean towards him. If he crosses his legs, wait a brief moment, then cross your own. Did I say legs? Arms. So try again. Okay, so if he crosses his arms, wait a brief moment, and then cross your own arms. Smile at people when they smile at you. Frown when they frown. You get the idea. Understanding. Expressing understanding is a form of reflection. It makes other people feel heard, valued, and supported. They love when people understand them. So if you act like you are sympathetic, empathetic, and understanding, then you will create bonds with people. People will feel that they can talk to you. They will open up to you, giving you even more information than you can use than you can use for manipulation. They will trust you and turn to you, never guessing that you are really the enemy. Confessing. Confessing your own secrets can make others open up like clams. You can reveal real or false secrets. Protect your own secrets. Just make sure that your confession seems realistic, genuine, and deeply personal. Your moment of sharing will encourage others to confess things to you. Now remember, I don't agree with what this guy is saying as how to behave. I'm just saying I'm reading this stuff and so you understand what other people are doing to you, okay? Then you have all sorts of information to use against them later on. You also get to forge a bond that isn't real there. You gain the person's trust. Take control of others. You can start to take control of people by leaning and pacing. This method allows you to slowly gain control over someone in small ways. The small steps that you make at first with pacing and leaning can lead to bigger and bigger steps. Once you gain even a small amount of control over someone, you have the potential to take away more control. This reminds me so much of borderline personality disorder. As you practice mirroring, you can start to test how deep your rapport with the other person is by making some small movements of your own. For instance, after a few minutes or even hours of mimicking the other person's gestures, flip over your right hand. Ideally, the other person will also flip over his right hand. When someone starts to follow your lead, you know that you have a bit of control. Start to use this control to begin planting ideas in others' minds and lead them into new ways of thinking. Just a small gesture sets the mood, for everything. You should use lots of language that elicit the emotional response that you want in someone. That way you lead his thoughts in the direction that you want. You can do this by playing on his hopes, doubts, fears, likes, and dislikes. Bring up the thing that will make him think positively or negatively about something. This is how you can ruin somebody's mood, or you can uplift someone, or you can get someone to make a decision by causing him to feel a certain way about a choice. Remember that people form strong memories and associations with their emotions. This means that while you are talking about a person, you can make someone form a negative association by also mentioning his fears in relation to the person you are both discussing. Take this example. A guy you know really likes this girl, but you don't want them to date for whatever reason. So you can make him form a negative association with her by mentioning how much she loves men with money. You know that. He doesn't have a lot of money, and it is a deep insecurity that he holds. This can lead him to think that this girl wouldn't like him and associate her with a sense of inadequacy. He won't be as likely to pursue her if he has this association. Pacing lets you set the pace for what someone else does. Leading means that you lead someone to do what you want. The two combined create a powerful approach that enables you to sneakily and clandestinely take over someone's mind. Meta-modeling. Meta-modeling is an NLP method that allows you to make people rethink what they say. People often use broad, vague terms like never, always, and everyone. They don't really consider how general what they are saying is. You can challenge someone when he says one of these words. For instance, if he says everyone likes me, ask him, does everyone? You can't possibly know everyone in the world. Doing this makes people question the validity of their statements and cause them to doubt themselves. It also allows you to distract someone from the real argument at hand and prevents him from making the point that he wanted to. Use speech to your advantage. How you speak to others and how you speak to yourself has a major impact on how your message is received. There are dozens of ways to say the same exact thing, but some ways are more effective than others. Speaking to others using positive terms will make people want to give you your wishes more. Change others' behavior by telling them what to do Changing others' behaviors by telling them what to do in an assertive way, but be friendly about it. Avoid saying things like, don't do that. Instead, stick to the positive and say things like, you will do this. The positive terms encourage people to take action. Negative terms tend to incite inaction and defensiveness. Defensiveness in people, and they will more often than not do what you told them not to do. So if you are dating someone and you don't want him to cheat on you, you can say, don't ever cheat on me. This is not a very effective message. He will promise you that he won't cheat, and then he may do it if he is so inclined. You just put the idea of cheating on his mind. Reverse the outcome by saying something like, thank you for being faithful to me. Don't mention cheating, and don't tell him what not to do. Just tell him how to be by using more positive phrases and projecting what you want onto him. You can manipulate people using this concept. If you want someone to do something, you can challenge him by telling him not to do it. You both plant the idea in his mind and make him think that by disobeying your orders, he is preserving his freedom and getting what he wants. Little does he know that really he is playing right into your hands. Get whatever you want. One of the greatest things about NLP teaches is that you can achieve anything that you want if you want a better memory. Don't resign yourself to having a poor one. Instead, take steps necessary to develop a good memory and believe in yourselves. If you want to seduce someone who is out of your league, don't believe that someone is unattainable. Don't believe that someone's unattainable. Just go after him or her and have confidence. Believing in yourself and your abilities really opens the doors to anything. NLP grants you a wider range of choices than you thought possible. Dark NLP encourages you to get whatever you want without shame or apology. There is no need to be modest or hold back. Without without conscience, you should go after whatever it is that your heart desires. Dark NLP uses NLP techniques to show you how to get what you really want. Popularity. Using the dark NLP method of creating fake bonds is important because it enables you to make lots of social connections. And the more people you know, the more you can get. You will have no shortage of networking opportunities. This is important in business, but also in life in general. Use dark NLP to communicate better using people's sensory model systems. That way, you can really make it clear what you want. You will always make others like you because they find it easy to talk to you. Also, use mirroring and breathing techniques to make people feel close to you. And when you forge that connection, you increase how much people like you, and they will want to spend time around you if they feel bonded with you. Above all, believe that you are worthy of being liked. Like yourself, find all of the characteristics that you like about yourself and magnify them in your mind. Meanwhile, imagine the things that you don't like as black and white. It ran all right. It's black and white. Pictures. Shrink these pictures until you can see them. You can't see them anymore. Visualize the disappearance of your insecurities. Can help you diminish them and get over them, causing you to like yourself more. Liking yourself will manifest as confidence, which other people find irresistibly attractive. Visualize success. Visualizing things is how you can make them true. When you convince your mind that something is possible, your mind will get used to that being truth. Thus, your mind will attempt to adjust your reality to fit your visualizations. Therefore, to get what you want, you should visualize success in all of your ventures. You want to imagine the outcome of that you want. Imagine what it looks, feels, and smells, and sounds, and tastes like. Imagine how your entire life looks with the outcome you want. If you want someone, for example, imagine having that person in your life and holding him or her close. Self-talk is how you speak to yourself in the quiet of your own mind and even out loud. Positive self-talk enhances your mood and your confidence. Tell yourself things like, I will achieve this, I will get this promotion. Also, avoid negative phrases in your self-talk. Don't say things like, I will lose weight, or I won't get in trouble for this. The human mind tends to ignore negatives, instead makes your negative affirmations a positive. You might as well be telling yourself, wait, it's a good thing, gain it, or I will get caught. Instead, stick to positive phrases and terms. Try to think in terms of gain, not loss. I will gain fitness. I will get away with this. You also want to banish insecurities, doubts, and negative thoughts. You don't need any negative anything negative bringing you down, bringing down your mindset and ruining your confidence. It can be helpful to envision your negative thoughts as pictures that you shrink into invisibility, or you can imagine your inner negative self-talk and self-criticism as a silly cartoon voice that makes you laugh. Slowly mute this voice until you can't hear it anymore. Celebrate your successes. Human beings like rewards. We have covered this in depth, so use this idea of conditioning and rewarding yourself whenever you meet a goal and get what you want. Celebrate your successes, and you will make yourself want to succeed more. How you celebrate is up to you. Do something pleasurable and pat yourself on the back. Treat yourself to a nice meal or some you time. Okay. Have a routine. Having stability in your life is essential to being successful. You'll be more organized and able to go after what you want if you are organized and have a set routine. Have a good morning routine and an evening routine. Be sure to incorporate leisure, pleasure, and relaxation in your daily schedule. You need to take care of yourself above all else. If you do this, you teach yourself to have the attitude that you are worthy of the best, and then you will become more inclined to go after what you want and succeed in getting it. Also, set plans. Open your mind and be flexible. If a plan A fails, move on to plan B. Never run out of plans and never give up. The use of a model. Humans tend to look to others and model their behavior accordingly. Role models are extremely important for this reason. Dark NLP teaches you to find appropriate models to show you how to get what you want. You can also use this concept and become a model yourself for how you want others to believe. You will encourage people with your own behavior. Find someone successful whom you admire. This person probably is ruthless and cutthroat. Nice people don't get ahead in life. Use his or her behavior and success stories as a model to base your own success story on. I also recommend reading about people such as Machiavelli to learn how to become controlling, manipulative, and shamelessly powerful. Monitor your behavior after them. If people start to engage in behavior that you don't like, they will quickly stop when they realize that you are not partaking. For instance, if you refuse to join in gossip, you set a model for others and discourage them from gossiping. This can really work. Try experimenting with being a model. You should also present the outward appearance that you are a generous, fair, and conscientious person. We cover that more in the last few chapters. Chapter 4. Turn CBT around. Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. CBT is a special favorite with the therapist because it is so successful. CBT works by changing someone's patterns of thinking using questions and self-analysis. Therapists can use it, but individuals can use it themselves too. That means that you can use it. You can change someone's thinking to match your own purposes. This isn't necessarily ethical, but then again, dark psychology isn't always ethical either. You can employ CBT for manipulation, brainwashing, mind control, and even emotional abuse. These simple methods can really give you a lot of power over someone. You will essentially become God, modeling a person's mind into exactly what you want. How does CBT work? CBT works by encouraging someone to take control of his or her own thinking. A lot of someone's emotional suffering lies in his or her thinking patterns. By addressing and correcting those patterns to do something more positive and fulfilling, a person can heal. But this form of therapy doesn't have to be just for healing. You can take CBT into your own hands and use it to gain control over others by changing their thinking. Using lines of questions or comparisons, you can make someone realize that his line of thinking is not helpful. You can then lead him in the line of thinking that you desire him to follow. CBT believes that people tend to hold certain thinking patterns. These patterns are usually learned in childhood and then perpetuated throughout a person's life. These patterns are far from permanent, however. You can easily make someone look at situations and things from a different perspective and change his thinking pattern. With time, these new thinking patterns become habit and become part of a person's life. First, let's explore common cognitive distortions. Then we'll explain different types of more helpful thinking. Finally, we'll explore how to use dark CBT to get control over someone's mind. Cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions are forms of distorted thinking or negative or unhelpful thinking patterns. All people have one or two cognitive distortions that they buy into. You probably have some of your own. The ultimate goal in CBT is to identify these distortions and correct them in some way. First, assuming. When you assume, you make an ass of you and me. This is why assuming is never healthy or helpful in any situation. You might be wrong. What evidence do you have to prove that you are right? Next, all or nothing thinking. This is where you see the world in black and white rather than shades of gray. Everything is completely wonderful or utterly awful. You are happy or sad. Don't accept that life is actually a balance of positive and negative. Next is dwelling and ruminating. The past should stay in the past. Dwelling on your pain in the past too much will only magnify the problems and miseries that you suffer from. It is better to get your mind off your problems. Overgeneralizing. Everyone, always, never, and other such terms are terms that you may use when you are overgeneralizing. You assume, and usually erroneously, that everything will go the same as you perceived as your previous experiences because everyone is the same. Mind reading. You can't know the thoughts and feelings of others, so don't try to guess what others are thinking. You are more than likely wrong, and you will make yourself miserable if you try to be a mind reader. It is better to stop guessing and just ask someone straight up. Negative self-labeling. This is where you call yourself bad names. You blame yourself for everything that goes wrong. And when something goes right, you think, I don't deserve this. And when you screw up, you are so hard on yourself. You speak to yourself abysmally. Next is disqualifying the positive. When you disqualify the positive, you refuse to acknowledge that good things are happening in your life. You instead choose to fixate on the bad things going on. This is hardly helpful or healthy. Next is disqualifying the present. You don't focus on the present. Instead, you're busy worrying about the future or dwelling on the past. You fail to see how the present plays the biggest role of all because you're too busy focusing on the future or the past, which you cannot control, blaming others. You have the immature habit of blaming others for everything wrong in your life. You fail to take responsibility for your own actions. Consider looking at how you can control your own life and change your life with your own actions. Should thinking. You don't accept things as they are. You are always discounted because you think of how things should be, but you really can't judge how things should be. The things are never as they should be. Let go of this type of thinking. Next is catastrophizing. Everything is worse than it really is. You freak out about small things that you could probably really let go of. Excessive need for approval. This is where you need the approval of others so badly that you worry constantly about what others think and you go out of your way to please other people. The opinions of others really don't matter that much, so work hard to rid yourself of this distortion if you suffer from it. Replacement through patterns. CBT aims to replace the negative thought patterns and cognitive distortions with more helpful types of thinking. Eventually, the subject will learn to replace his normal thought habits with the more helpful ones that CBT teaches. He can find how to do this by identifying his incorrect or unhelpful thinking and then identify how to best change it. First, you don't know it all. Stop assuming. Only make decisions based on facts and solid evidence. Next, life is in shades of gray, not black or white. You may be ecstatic, but understand that there will be bad things to go with the good. Alternatively, even if you are miserable, there is always a plus to everything. Seek a balanced perspective. Don't be too happy or too sad about things. Look on the bright side. This is a silver lining of event that to even the most horrible situation or people. Seek out potential positives in every situation that brings you down. Life and people change constantly. Consider that this time around things might be different. There are no steadfast rules for people or life, so don't overgeneralize. Seek out the good in yourself. When you criticize yourself, try to think of ways to compliment yourself instead. Think of good things and think qualities that you possess. Always notice and value the present. Be grateful for what is going well in your life. Count the things that you do have rather than focusing on what you don't have. The past and the future are beyond your control. You can't read the future or change the past, but you do have power over the present. So focus on that instead. Life is never as it should be. Instead, focus on working with what you do have. Consider that maybe this is your fault, then consider how to fix it. Don't blame others for things that you can't control, or surrender your power and control and feel that the entire world is against you. You're better than that. Take responsibility for your own actions. You can't read minds, even if you think that you are a psychic. You can't read the minds with any degree of accuracy. Don't assume what others are thinking. Ask yourself, do I know for sure that that is what he thought? Things usually don't deserve as much energy or time as you decided, or just you dedicated to them. Consider scaling back and toning down your emotional response to things. Some things are really rather silly. You can't safely let go of them. Question yourself. First, you should identify the line of thinking that you don't need. Ask yourself some questions to figure out what you are thinking wrongly and how you can change your thinking to accomplish your goal. Why do I think this? Could I be wrong? Could I possibly let this go? This is very important when it comes to deconstructing from religion like Christianity or other cults for that matter. So why do I think this? Could I be wrong? Could I possibly let things go? Am I thinking of how this should be or how it is? Am I blaming others? What could I do to change the situation? Am I focused on the present or on the past or future, which I cannot control? Do I have any proof that this is what he thought? Or am I mind reading? I kind of like that. So that's what I'm gonna copy that and snip that sucker. This will take the whole page right there. In particular like this. Where's my little thing at? Not that, oh well. It's a little different book, isn't it? It's a bit informative. Turned into a self-help book. Do I have any proof that this is what he thought, or am I reading minds? Ask yourself these questions and write down the answers in a CBT journal. When you ask these questions, you can pinpoint where your thinking is going wrong. Then you can become constructive about changing your thinking, find more helpful thought patterns, then write them out at the end of the session with yourself. Document how much better you feel now that you have found a new way of looking at a situation. In therapy, therapists will ask you these questions to make you reconsider your stance and perspective on a situation, relationship, or person. You can become someone's therapist in dark CBT for good or evil. When using dark CBT, you want to ask your subject the same types of questions. Ask him questions to make him doubt the correctness of his thinking, and to nudge him in the direction that you desire. Change his perspective by pointing out that he could approach some things a little differently in his mind. You would be amazed at how sensitive people are to suggestion and at how easy they will adjust their thinking with just a little bit of help. Goals. CBT is goal oriented. There should always be some end goal. Usually, when using this therapy, a person will set a goal such as, I want to stop being so unhappy. I want to solve this problem that I have in my life. I want to stop self-medicating and become healthier by learning healthier coping skills. In dark CBT, however, the ball is in your court. You can set whatever goal you wish. Just make sure that the goal is very clear so you can understand how to take steps towards achieving it. There always needs to be a set goal for CBT to be effective. So when you decide how you want to change someone's thinking, you need to choose exactly how you want to change it. You want to outline what you want to see happen, and then every day you must work towards the goal with the subject. Your subject also needs to be clear. You want to keep your target in sight. Running CBT takes a lot of dedication, so ideally your subject will be someone with whom you spend a lot of time. Of course, you can use dark CBT on anyone, but you will have a more permanent lasting effect on someone if you can use dark CBT on him over a long period of time. It takes a while for CBT to stick and totally alter someone's personality. Dark CBT principles: ask questions. This is the deadly one. Just asking questions ruins everything. The minute someone starts to think something that you don't want, you can use a line of questions to nudge his thinking in a different direction. Think of the questions outlined above and adapt them to fit your own unique situation. And by the way, when I'm reading this, overlay this over something like a pastor, a priest, a professor, your boss, somebody who's manipulative, that wants you to believe in something because they have personal gain from it. Power. You know what I mean? They want to be able to play golf every Wednesday. Someone's going to have to pay for it. For instance, if you are trying to make someone think more negatively or hurt your self-esteem, you might hear her say, I feel really good about this. I think it might go well. Ask her, what makes you think that this will go well? Have you entertained the possibility that it might go wrong? Are you prepared for things going poorly? You chip away at her self-esteem while appearing like you are simply caring and trying to keep her from getting crushed. Beautiful. Now let's say you want to motivate a co-worker to do something for you. Right now he is very negative about doing it because he is lazy and doesn't want to expand the energy. He doesn't see the significant reward waiting for him at the end of his work, so he is iffy about doing it. So you can easily ask him a line of questions to make him feel more enthused about doing the work. Ask him things like, don't you want to take credit for this work? Don't you want to recognition from your boss? Make him see the positive and the benefits that he will receive from doing what you want. Oh shit. That was a bad move. Okay. Let's get here. How the hell did that happen? That happened because of me. Because of me. Because of me. Lost my place. Okay, we have to ask questions, right? I was at where I'm at. Now ask questions. For instance, if you're trying to make someone think more negatively and hurt her self-esteem, chip away that. Okay, beautiful. Now we did that. He doesn't see again. Okay. Benefits from the receive doing what you want. Encourage cognitive distortions. Typically, CBT strives to change cognitive distortions into more positive thinking patterns, but you can reverse this to cause emotional suffering in someone. This is the way people think, man. Try the very opposite and suggest lines of harmful thinking to someone. Encourage someone to adopt cognitive distortions. You can really make them miserable if you distort their thinking and make them start to think in unhelpful ways. You can work someone into a state of extreme anxiety by encouraging him to catastrophize. Suggest the worst possible outcomes in the guise that you are looking out for him. You don't have to even be obvious about it. Just expose him to ideas. For instance, if he's about to take a flight, expose him to a plane crash movie. And casually discuss extreme flight delays. And you can make someone pessimistic by always pointing out the negative. You can also discount the positive, making him learn to do the same. Set a model for negativity that will bring him down all the time. When he is feeling positive, you can ruin that by warning him not to be too black and white. Pretend that you are trying to help him out and spare him disappointment, and teach him to abandon the cognitive distortion in favor of even more harmful thought patterns. Tell them there is always a negative or a con to every situation. Don't assume that everything will be great. This will teach him self-doubt and uncertainty. You can also make someone start to catastrophize when the situation is small. Add drama and excitement until it blows up into something huge. Cause someone to get upset over nothing. You can pretend like you are simply being a concerned friend so that you don't get into trouble with your subject. Of course, you don't always have to teach someone to be negative. You can also teach someone to be more positive if it behooves you. The more you question and challenge his thinking, the more control you have over his mind. Then you can mess with him and make him think positively or negatively as it suits you. He will rely on you for more direction and permission on how to think. He will look to you for affirmation and validation because he can no longer trust himself. He will need you to guide his thinking for him. This is great for you because it means that you are an ultimate control. Remember that over time you will make a thought pattern a habit. If you keep exposing and training the person to take on that thought pattern, it will stick. How someone thinks directly impacts his personality, so you can change his disposition and nature very dramatically. You will make him more positive or negative, it will take a long time for him to revert back to his old thinking. He may never be the same. Stir up doubt. Most people are partly comfortable with their thinking styles when they reach adulthood. You can really mess with someone's peace of mind by calling his set thinking style into question. You will disconcert him and also confuse him, and you will plant the seeds of doubt deep in his mind, which may bloom into self-hatred, depression, and other such issues. When someone says something, you can challenge him every time. This challenging will make him wonder if he's right and what he thinks. It will spark doubt. Let's say he likes to overgeneralize and say things like, everyone likes me. Ask him if he really thinks everyone does, since it isn't feasible for him to know everyone in the world. Make him really doubt what he says, and watch what he mentions to you, because you always have some sort of challenging retort. Bring up memories. If you know that person has a bad memory that he needs to work through in order to become healthier, you can challenge his progress and healing by exposing him to his memory. He can't heal if he continues to be exposed to the pain and strife of the traumatic event. Did I skip something? Traumatic event. Nope. Okay. There are numerous ways to expose someone to a horrible memory. Scents are one powerful thing that transports people into their memories. If you know the scent that reminds him of someone, such as a particular perfume that reminds him of his ex, then wear the scent around him and spray it in his home or office. He won't know why the memory comes flooding back and where the scent is coming from. You can also use images related to what happened. Leave a magazine open to an image where he'll find it, and show him pictures of your own phone under the guise that you want him to see something cool. Or keep mentioning the name of a person who traumatized him. You can pretend to not know what really happened, so that he can't blame you for trying to remind him of the past. Act like you just know this person and want to talk about him or her innocently. Another thing that you can do is pretend to be someone's friend to the point where he confides painful memories in you. Then when things turn sour or the proper time comes, you can bring up these memories, use them as weapons. Only do this when you are more than ready to end a relationship with someone. There is no going back when you shed all the discretion, and make it obvious that you are trying to hurt someone. There you go. And by the way, once again, I don't support this book, and just because I'm reading doesn't mean I agree with this kind of thinking and behavior. But the reason why we should read this kind of stuff is, as those saying goes, you should know thy enemy, right? And then go from there, right? And when you see these things and these behaviors, it should make yourself, what is the motive behind these people? Why are they being so manipulative? Why are they behaving the way they're behaving? And either you can use it as a defensive measure, or you can counter offensive measure, right? something like that. Anyways. Chapter 5, Manipulation and Persuasion to get what you want. Manipulation literally means using something as a tool to suit your own purposes. The act of manipulating others typically involves using other people as a tool. You can't get remorse or shame if you want to be successful, be a successful manipulator. You can't get, or does it say you can't have remorse or shame if you want to be successful manipulator. You need to view people as pawns that you move around on a board, the board game of life. I feel dirty just reading this. Anyways, people are very useful. Why not use them? Manipulation has a bad reputation. It's a dark art because it involves making people act against their will and without their knowledge. Nevertheless, this does not mean that manipulation is always used for bad. Sometimes you might use manipulation for positive purposes, such as causing people to make wise decisions. It can benefit the person that you are manipulating as well as yourself. Sometimes manipulation only benefits only you, but it doesn't harm the other person. You don't have to use manipulation to hurt others, though it is certainly useful in that respect. Manipulation is a valuable skill to possess because it really helps you gain the upper hand and get what you want. It enables you to use people to their full capacity to further your own goals and aspirations. It is crucial to be sneaky when you manipulate others. People hate being manipulated and made to do things that they do not consent to. But keep in mind that most people have manipulative tendencies, and manipulation is far from rare. Therefore, you are not a bad person by using the manipulation techniques included in this chapter. You are simply going after what you want. That makes you powerful and even positive. Just make sure to hide your manipulation attempts and disguise your intentions. Otherwise, people will judge you harshly and get mad at you. You can lose friends left and right if you gain the reputation of them as a manipulator. We talk more about hiding your manipulative tendencies and actions in chapter 8 and 10. I feel like I'm being manipulated reading this book, but we talk a little about this in this chapter too. So let's delve into this fascinating and useful subject, shall we? Make someone your pawn. You can't just manipulate people with whom you don't share a rapport. You have to build a rapport and prime your subject before you can successfully manipulate him. This means that you need to form some sort of relationship with that person. Using a combination of psychological tricks, you can make a person weak for you. Your subject will be willing to do anything for you if you break down his mind and soften him to your attempts at manipulation. Priming is best achieved through emotional manipulation. You want to play with someone's emotions. First step is to make someone feel great around you. And when someone likes you, he will be more open to your persuasive attempts and will want to please you. He will want to spend time around you because you make him feel good. This time enables you to get your hooks into his mind more successfully. So start with meaningful flattery. Observe your subject to see what means a lot to him. Then compliment him on the things that he values and cares about. For instance, if he loves sports and plays softball on the weekends, talk about sports with him and compliment his pitching techniques or his athletic physique. Over time, he will become increasingly attached to you. Next, start the emotional roller coaster. As you get to know this person better, make him feel more and more attached to you. Start to make him doubt his self-esteem. You can do this by finding things that he is guilty about, or make him feel guilty about things that he does. Always play the victim and make him feel like a terrible person. It's possible to pout like a child, but it's even better to act like an adult and pretend to get very hurt about small things he does while telling him that you forgive him. Jeez. Really, Chase? Is it that bad? Is it that bad reading?
No.
Okay.
I'm just getting a drink.
You will look better if you pretend to be an adult who always takes the high road. He will become even more infatuated with you and may start to admire you. Guilt is very powerful, but so is self-doubt. Plant seeds of doubt in his mind so that he feels insecure. Make him start to hate his friends and family by telling him about horrible things that they do and say. So he does his social support network, and he values his value of other people. Cause him to question his abilities and skills by saying things like, "You know that you're not good at that," or "That's not one of your strengths." Tell him that you are simply opening his mind to his inabilities so that you can protect him from the pain of failure or the pain of being around his hurtful loved ones. Then follow each little insult up with compliments. This will make him very confused. He will start to doubt himself, and he will believe what you say because he is attached to you. People are quite sensitive to suggestion. So this method works incredibly well. Meanwhile, he still feels like you are a nice person who cares about him. He won't be ready to end all contact with you just because you insult him from time to time. You also want to provide him with multiple rewards for what he does for you. When he pleases you, show it and lavish him with praise or favor. Also do favors for him and provide him with lots of services and support so that he is more open to doing favors for you. This is the basic principles of reciprocity. Can't say it. Reciprocity. The basic principle of reciprocity. Where people like to return kindness and favor that others do for them, you can use the things that you do for him as a bargaining tool. Call on him to return a favor sometime. He will likely be willing to reciprocate. If he's not willing, guilt him by reminding him of a favor you did for him a while back. The final part of priming is making someone doubt his sanity and perception. Tell him how he is wrong and come up with convincing arguments as to why. Inform him. It's basically, he's talking about day-to-day behavior of people. I don't know. that you're making things up or remembering things all the time. Over time, this will chip away at his security and certainty in his own mind. This method is known as gaslighting, and it is one of the best ways that you can prime someone. Don't take gaslighting lightly. You can use it to totally drive someone crazy over time. It's actually a great form of psychological warfare against someone close to you. Even if you care about someone, you can still prime him without hurting him. Make him depend on you so that he never leaves your side. You don't have to be romantically linked to someone to accomplish this sort of dependency. Just offer him something that he can't get anywhere else. Make yourself very useful to him and bolster his ego so that he relies on you for his happiness, convenience, or even financial stability. Disable his other forms of support so that you become the only person in his life. This feels like the American way is what I'm reading. You don't necessarily need to use gaslighting, guilt trips, or other such methods to hurt him. Being nice is enough to gain a foothold on someone for persuasive methods. As a friend, lover, even coworker, you can accomplish this priming at varying levels. You can do it lightly to someone whom you want to manipulate only slightly, or you can do it very heavily and to someone whom you want to use for life. Get a good read on someone. There is another side of priming that you really need. Is that?
Do you know who Eddie Rickenbacker is?
Yeah.
Famous pilot. His cousin invented the electric guitar.
I used to have a Rickenbacker bass. I used to have two of them.
Did?
One was stolen from me after a gig, and the other one
a really old one?
No, but the other one I had.
Are they even still in business?
Huh?
Are they even still in business?
Yeah, you can still buy Rickenbackers. It's a nice bass. I wish I had one. Yep. I got set up after a gig, and some blonde chick and her buddies. She convinced me to go to her place, and I was only there for 5 minutes. I came back out, and my amp and my bass were gone. Somebody took it from my truck. After that was a powerful lesson. You can't trust a damn person when you're out playing gigs. No matter what smiles and how many drinks they pass your way. You just can't trust them. It's sad. I mean, I understand why people join these religions like Christianity and then turn a blind eye to all the contradictions and absurdities in the Bible and the organized religion, because they're looking for a network of people that they can trust. And it's very difficult. I mean, what we're reading here, what I'm reading, is the human behavior, what the religion would call the fall of man, right? Well, the problem is, whether it's a fall of man or not, 99% of people are Jacobs, a bunch of hill grabbers. And that's the brutal truth of the matter. I mean, that's my observation. I wish it was different. I wish I was fucking wrong, but I'm not wrong. I wish I was wrong. Anyways, get a good read on someone. There is another side of priming that you really need to take into account. This side is reading. To manipulate someone, you must get a good read on someone. Natural manipulators are adept at reading people at a glance. If you are not so good at reading people right off the bat, then you can use time and priming to get a good read on your subject. Basically, you want to get to know person's the person very well. Listen to everything he tells you and glean his speech for potential emotional weapons to use against him. Anything he confides in you or accidentally reveals to you can be turned into a weapon at any time, and these. Save these. Come on, let's reboot here. Save these weapons. I wonder what would happen if it just made it a little smaller. I don't have to click it so much. But you save these weapons in your back pocket for when you need to use them. What are the best emotional weapons? Guilt is probably the best, is the most powerful one of all. People hate feeling guilty, so find out things that he feels guilty about. Also find out things that he loves or cherishes. You can give him these things to make him happy and reward him for his work for you, or you can cripple him by destroying these things. Love and passion give people power and a will to live. Taking these things away can crush a person. Try to become the gatekeeper of things that he loves so that you can gain ultimate power over him. The gatekeepers, that'd be YouTube, for example, and their censors, their fact checkers or censors. For example, bar his access to his loved ones and pitch a fit when he talks to people that you don't approve of, but let him talk to people he loves whenever he does what you want. Damn, it sounds like a cult or in a relationship with a nightmare for a human being. But you know what? He's describing what these people think. It's up to you if you want to be one of these people. I don't. Another way to use what someone loves against you is to trivialize things that he cares about. If he says how much he loves a dish, tell him how it is really not that good. Ruin a small thing that he loves, then you can move on to bigger things. Also trivialize his opinions. All people love and value their own opinions and believe that they are right. If you make him feel stupid for having certain opinions, then you will be able to chip down his self-esteem and make him doubt his righteousness. Make him feel small by trivializing him in every way possible. Eventually, he will come around to your way of thinking and will love only the things that you love, because you have made him abandon all that he loves. You will make him feel small and stupid, so he will look to you for validation and approval in order to repair his damaged ego. Trust is a great weapon that you can use. Most people desire to be trusted. You can tell him that he is not trustworthy because of various things that he has admitted to. Then make him do what you want for the sake of winning your trust. Let's say you're dating a guy and you want to manipulate him. Tell him that you don't trust him because he admitted to cheating on his ex. Tell him that you worry that he cheats on you, or claim that you have been cheated on, so now you have trust issues. This way he will want to win your trust. He will jump through hoops to make you trust him, including cutting off people you don't like in his life. You can make him cut off female friends and friends who encourage him to drink and or have a good time without you around by saying that you feel threatened by these people. Sounds like a typical woman here going, God. You can also use his reputation to manipulate him. He wants to be liked by others, so you can use that as a weapon. Tell him if you do that, um, everyone at work will hate you. You don't want that, right? Most likely, if he is a normal person, he will agree that he wants people to like him, so he will reconsider doing anything that might damage his reputation. Encourage him to do things by saying that it will gain him favor with different key people. One great way to manipulate coworkers is to give them tips on how to please the boss and possibly earn raises or promotions. Insecurities are fantastic weapons. Whatever hurts them will become apparent rather quickly as you get to know him. Some people are so obvious about their insecurities that you will be able to read what they hate about themselves right away. When someone becomes quite quiet after a certain subject is brought up, you can bet that he feels insecure about that subject. You can also guess what bothers him based on blatant flaws that he has, such as excessive weight or poor relationships with his wife. But mainly, you will learn his insecurities by listening to him. Listen to what he talks about and notice the things that seem to bother him or that he complains about. These insecurities are things that you can bring up at opportune moments to hurt him. You can also use them to do things to atone for what he lacks or to fix a flaw that he perceives in himself. In addition, you can plant new insecurities in his mind by casually mentioning flaws that you notice in him, or saying nasty things to him about himself during arguments. Finally, his level of affection or even love for you is a powerful weapon. This is why friends and lovers will say things like, if you really love me, you won't do this. This is always why people like to threaten to leave. You can threaten to withdraw your love from him to goad him into action. Play the victim. And this makes me sick reading this, but this is how people think. Playing the victim is your number one getting out of jail free card in life. If you become adept at playing the victim, you can pretty much justify anything that you do and make your subject feel terrible about anything that he does. Boy, do you see that a lot, don't you? God. First of all, you want to believe that you are the victim. You can accomplish this by rationalizing things. Use your conscious processes to justify your actions. Think of ways that others have wronged you in order to excuse your actions. As long as you believe that you are the victim, then you won't feel guilty about playing the victim card. You also want to establish your own innocence and vulnerability. You want to appear like an innocent victim being harmed by a life so that others feel so sorry for you. Tell people sob stories about how the world is against you. Make sure that your situations are not self-imposed so that others don't get irritated and think that you are just blame others for your own problems. A good example of this is talking about how you were abused as a child so that you can explain why you have difficulties picking good love partners and healthy friends now. This excuse This excuses your action and makes you seem like a victim who cannot control your own mind and help yourself. Strike sympathy in others so that people want to support you. When your subject does anything that you don't like, play the victim card. Show him how deeply he has hurt you. You won't accomplish this by pouting, giving him the silent treatment, or throwing a wild tantrum. You will enjoy way more success by playing the victim card if you appear mature and calm about something. Inform him in a steady voice that he has hurt you. Offer him consequences for his actions that he won't like. Say that he feels the need to protect your heart and your interest for him. Also, make him feel like a monster by continuing to appear like a saint who never does any wrong. You don't want to do something wrong to him that he can use as a weapon against you when you play the victim card. Let's revisit the cheating and romantic partnerships. If you want to prevent him from cheating, you can play the victim card when he talks to or looks at other women, but be very cautious that you never do anything with another person that makes you look bad. If you do cheat, make sure that he never, ever even suspects of what you did. Never let him access texts or social media posts that he can use against you, or your whole victim plan will fall apart. It's just sick. But this is how people behave. I mean, it's really nuts. That's the reason why I'm alone. You can also very effectively play the victim card by telling other people what he does to you. Act as if you aren't complaining about him. Just casually mention things that he does that are abhorrent. Blow what he did out of proportion to make him seem terrible, but don't make it obvious. This sounds just like what I went through. Jeez, I don't know how many times this has happened to me. This is the mentality of like a borderline personality psychopath. But then again, this book pretty much. Hey, listen. It's an important book to read, but it's making me sick to my stomach reading it. But this is what people think. Instead, make it seem like you are the victim of his actions. You won't realize that you have been terribly wronged. Other people will become shocked and even outraged that he would do this to poor little innocent you. They may even become your soldiers, confronting him and making him feel guilty. Guilt is your best trump card. Use it well. Man, how many women like this? How many people in my life have been this way? Oh my God, it makes me sick to my stomach. But also use it wisely. Play the victim card too often will wear out its power. Dr. Cialdini, oh God, how do you pronounce this name again? Damn Italian names.
Cialdini.
I mean, I don't know how you get Cialdini out of there. That's what it says, Cialdini. Cialdini or Cialdini? Fuck, I know. Cialdini, I guess it would be. Cialdini. Dr. Cialdini's 6 Principles of Influence. You can use the 6 Principles of Influence to influence any person to do what you want. These 6 principles are the foundation blocks of persuasion and manipulation. Keep them in mind and use them to gain influence over others. You can get what you want by using these principles. The first principle is the reciprocity. God damn. Reciprocity. The first principle is the reciprocity that we already discussed. Basically, you want to make people feel as if they owe you. Do favors for people so that you can call on them later when you need something. Appear very warm and generous so that others want to do things for you. You know, reading this too, it's not really things about with people, how they treated me, but it's making me self-reflect about, is there anything about me that I'm doing? Because I don't like the person, I don't like the person who would embrace these principles, the dark psychology, the 202. If you embrace this, you're never going to be friends, right? And I couldn't imagine you'd even care if that was the case. Saying that, I'm just like, man, this is like everything that's nasty about a person. This is what he's bringing up. And, you know, if you have a conscience and you read this, you should feel dirty. If you don't have a conscience, you should read this and feel, oh yeah, I'm being empowered. You know what I mean? The second principle involves social proof. You basically want to be well liked. The more popular you are, the more influence you have, other people will back you up if you are well liked. New people that you meet will want to do things for you to gain your favor, since everyone else likes you. Commitment and consistency is the third principle. People tend to stick to things that they know. They like consistency, so you can appeal to someone by asking him to do something that he already does. This works well in sales. If you have a customer who always likes the same types of products, you can target him with similar products. Brand loyalty is built upon this principle. Authorities grant you a lot of influence. Authority grants you a lot of influence. If you appear like an authority figure, others will do what you say. The infamous Milton prison experiment is a classic example of how people are willing to obey authority figures to great lengths. Appear like you know what you are doing, and be bossy. People will believe that you have more power than you really do if you act like it. Scarcity is where you can essentially scare someone into action. Let your subject know that something is in limited supply. He will jump into action to get it before it runs out. Now I'm thinking about what's his face? Prison Planet, dude, Alex Jones, and all those guys. Get your 6 months supply of food that tastes like shit. Oh my God. The end of the world's happening tomorrow. Did you know that? This is the principle that play when TV commercials command you to act fast before supplies run out. Liking is the final principle. This is where you want to make people like you. Being a kind, sincere person, at least on the outside, can make others want to do things for you. Also, appearing warm will make people like you. Approach someone with a proposal or favor in a warm room, or offer him a warm drink to give the impression that you are warm. Use light touch. Use light touch, such as an arm brushing during conversation. Lots of eye contact to establish a bond. In Eastern cultures, or some Native American cultures, eye contact and touch is not encouraged. So instead, you want to appear different and deeply respectful at all times. Keep your hands to yourselves and avoid eye contact. Denial. Denial is extremely powerful. People don't want to believe things that hurt them. So they put up fronts and convince themselves that the reality is just peachy. You could use a denial to your favor when you are manipulating someone. One way to use denial is to justify your own behavior to yourself. You won't be a great manipulator if you feel bad about what you're doing. You need to justify what you're doing to yourself. Denying the level of depravity that you have sunk to is a great way to do this. This is sick. Another thing that you can use denial for is manipulating your subject. Use his own sense of denial against him. Tell him that he is in denial about things to convince him that he is in the wrong. Make him think that you know him better than he knows himself. That will make him rely on you yet more for affirmation and validation of himself. It will also make him start to doubt himself and wonder what it is that he is in denial about. Finally, denial is a great for defending yourself. Vehemently deny any and all wrongdoing. Should someone accuse you of being less than upfront and trying to manipulate others, deny it. Never admit to any wrongdoing. You want to appear like you have done nothing wrong. This will make your subject believe it. If you stand steadfastly beside your innocence, you will appear more innocent. Eventually, your subject may cave and rethink his accusations. This book makes me feel dirty. I don't like it. But there you go. Okay, and it may even stop suspecting you of any wrongdoing. Use this opportunity to convince him that he has just seeing things and being too sensitive, and think of past friends, lovers, and family members who was manipulative to him. Tell him that he is projecting stuff onto you, and that isn't fair to you. Again, you want to whip out the victim card, even convince yourself that you are a victim. This makes the denial even more complete. And I need a break. I feel dirty just reading this. But this goes on all the time, doesn't it? All the time.